welcome to the Brothers Random Show. My name is Travis.
And I'm Michael.
And we are two ordinary brothers discussing extraordinary ideas and some random shit. So the topics on the show range from theology, masculinity, stories, movies, philosophy, books, pop culture, and many other subjects. We often talk about the people who admire and the wisdom they share. People such as Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, who we believe is the sage of our time. Michael, why are we here?
Today we are talking about movies again, which we just always love getting together and talking about movies. But this time we're talking about movies that had a great premise, but ended up being garbage. So yeah. there's a few out there.
There's quite a few out there, I would say.
Yep. So Travis, why don't you start off the one you had?
Well, this is I'm going to throw you a curveball. The Last Airbender was based on a great show that was called Avatar: The Last Airbender. It was an anime show that was on Nickelodeon. It was a really good show. I don't know if you've seen them, Michael.
Oh yeah, loved it.
Oh, yeah,
yep. I've seen it a couple times. I watched it with my kids a couple times. Yeah.
So they made a live action movie with M. Night Shyamalan directing, and it was bad. Like just bad.
I don't think I ever finished it. I think I started it and literally just my kids were watching it. I was just like, all right, guys, if you want to keep watching it, you can keep watching it. And I just quit watching it. So
they changed a few things. There were a lot of dumb things in it. It was just really, really poorly handled. And that's where the premise is really good. The idea is really good. I guess Netflix is doing a live action of it. They'll probably ruin it but we have the original, and the original is very, very good. So that's
Dave Filoni, I think, was involved in that too. I think he was involved
the show,
a little bit
in the original show
in Last Airbender. Yeah,
that's awesome. There is so much good about that show, and we really don't talk about it enough. My kids love it. I love it. It's the creators, I think, were kicked off of the live action Netflix show that's supposed to be coming out here soon. So that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
So anyway, everything that's being remade seems to be a little bit more shitty as the years go on. I mean, I can't say that about everything, but yeah, that's a generalization.
So what's yours? I had one that came to mind, which was not a lot of people know about this movie, but right after Return of Jedi came out, Star Wars made a Caravan of Courage, an Ewok adventure. And it was about the Ewoks helping like two kids like crash land on a planet, and the Ewoks help these two kids. It was really corny, really bad. I don't remember much about it. But a lot of people think
it was bad.
Yeah, a lot of people think that more recently when their first attempts to make Star Wars kind of spin-off. So Rogue One would have been kind of considered a spin-off story that really didn't have a lot to do with the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
But it was kind of its own contained story. But that actually would have been the first one. So
the Ewok one.
Was it good?
So I vaguely remember this, and I remember it being like the acting was really bad.
Really bad.
Yeah. And that's all I remember about it. I remember a little blonde girl with curly hair. Yeah. It seems like something that Lucasfilm maybe tried to bury after it came out, kind of thing.
I think so. Which didn't you say you saw it on Disney Plus?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
It is on
Disney Plus. Wow.
There you go. Some people will be able to find it.
So bizarre. It is. I mean, they even had Warwick Davis in it, who played Wicket, the Ewok.
Oh,
The
yeah.
original, like in Return of the Jedi. So
Yeah.
interesting. So it is like George Lucas's first original attempt to try to branch out of the Skywalker saga. Probably
I
because
don't know how involved he was in it, because I think um he was allowing people to, they would come to him and ask, can we do these things, and then he would kind of allow, because I my understanding was for Spaceballs, they went to George Lucas and he says it's completely fine, you just can't make toys. um
that's
that was my
interesting.
understanding.
I'd forgotten that story. Maybe, yeah,
He's
yeah,
like, yeah, you can make a parody, that's
yeah.
totally fine, but no toys.
No toys.
Because if you think about it,
That's because he made a
some
killing off the
I was
toys.
watching some, anyway, this is doesn't have to turn into being about Star Wars, but I was
Yeah.
watching some documentary, and they were saying that whatever the Star Wars movies have made, probably 3 or 4 times that the toys have made.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's
Not
yeah.
now. Nobody's buying toys now. So
Well, kids don't play with toys anymore.
so yeah, that's a good point. So my next one is The Season of the Witch, which was a 2011 film starring Nicolas Cage. This had one of the coolest premises ever, I thought. And here's the IMDb breakdown
Synopsis. Yeah.
Yeah. For 14th century knights transport a suspected witch to a monastery where monks deduce that her powers could be the source of the Black Plague. Now, I thought that when I saw the trailer to this, I thought it was going to be an excellent movie. It is a shitty movie. It was poorly cast. Nicolas Cage, although I like him in weird stuff. I don't really like him in a straightforward drama / action movie. He's good in action movies in general, but I think this had the potential to be really thought-provoking drama about, religion and belief and all that kind of stuff, because you could
prejudice and
and
like
prejudice and
things
all
like
that kind of
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
It really, the premise is like really good idea, because he was going at the beginning of the movie.
He was supposed to transport her somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
he was transporting her, and while he was doing it, he was having this ongoing dialogue with her. And that was the most interesting part of this movie. Like everything else, like she conjures up like a army of wolves and demons that come after them, and it just becomes this like weird orgy of CGI, and and Nicolas Cage is poorly cast. He's trying to do an accent, and at the same time trying to have like this gravitas of a soldier who's been through it all, and it's just it wasn't I saw it a few years ago, and it wasn't as terrible as I remembered, but I thought, man, that premise is still really sound. That's a good premise, man. And if they just taken more of a grounded approach to it, like you could still have action adventure, but maybe not with like wolves and demons and that. Yeah, it was just a dumb movie. So that's my biggest, that's one that I've always thought they really need to get that premise and get it right.
It had a really good premise. Yeah, I had one that was In Time. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah.
With
I do. With
Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah, Amanda Seyfried is in it too.
Like she's beautiful in it, and I really kind of felt like they were gonna like check all the boxes on this film.
Yeah,
but
that's also a 2011 film. Wow. It must have been the year that they tried shit out and it didn't work.
Just a bunch of stuff didn't really land.
So the premise for that is, in the future where people stop aging at 25 but are engineered to live only one more year, having the means to buy your way out of the situation is a shot at immortal youth. here, and then the lead, it's about the lead trying to get more time.
Yeah, but it started out really well, but it kind of turned into this whole mess where they like start, him and the main girl like start stealing time. So it's in a world set in a world where time is currency.
Yeah.
You would buy things and everything with like a clock that's connected to you, and once that time runs out, then you die.
I remember the movie, but I remember no details about it. Like I don't remember how it ended. I don't really remember.
Probably just because it was kind of unmemorable. Like the thing that the sad thing that was kind of neat and how they played the story is because of this time thing, they weren't really aging was a whole different deal. You had rich people that were hundreds of years old and stuff, and his mother looked like she was his age. And
played by Olivia Wilde,
and she it's kind of this, anyway, a sad spoiler, but like there's like a sad series of events that happens where she runs out of time and dies, and it was pretty emotional, and I actually really liked how that kind of played out, and it kind of set the stakes high, because then he's like on this mission to never run out of time because he just watched his mother run out of time. But just the execution on it and how they played out the latter half.
I think I remember going to it expecting kind of an action extravaganza, and it just had it had a couple of action scenes, but they were really poorly.
Yeah.
Like it did, like nothing's like, when I think of action, I can think of like set pieces that were done with the action, and nothing comes to mind with that. I remember, you remember like specific action sequences, like the Mission Impossible of him hanging on the touch the floor.
Yeah.
And there's tons of that kind of stuff, but for some reason that movie had almost no memorable action sequences. I think it's because there might have not been very many.
It might have been kind of low budget. I don't remember much, but
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, this one is a kicker for me. And that was the 2017 The Mummy, the Tom Cruise one.
Oh, the Tom Cruise one. Yeah, that was a big flop. Massive flop.
Like, I don't, somewhere just putting that thing together, it just, and it got me excited because I heard that it was supposed to be the introduction to a new dark universe where they were going to bring in Dracula. They were going to bring in like all of these
Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman. The Wolfman. I think there was an attempt to do that, because I think part of what this was the Dracula Untold. Yeah. Anyway, it was Dracula Untold. It was like his backstory, Dracula's backstory or whatever. And that was supposed to be part of it.
Yeah.
And it just didn't, both of those flopped. And so I guess that made the whole thing die. Because they had Russell Crowe, who was going to be Jekyll and Hyde.
Well, yeah, I mean, they had Tom Cruise, they had Russell Crowe as Jekyll and Hyde, and he like was, I mean, starting out like he was good. He could have been amazing. It had all the right, right premise, like the right fittings.
Well, and the Mummy was going to be she's like this female version of the Mummy. I don't know what it was about that movie, but it was just, I think Tom Cruise ruined that movie.
It's possible. I don't know how much involved he was. It could have been a writer. It could have been, I'm not exactly sure.
It just didn't, it wasn't right. There's something off about it. Like I can't think of any of the action. The only thing that I can remember is the chick that played the mummy.
Yeah, it was, I think they had a lot of things. So they wanted to compete with Marvel, because this is height of Marvel, where
2000,
Marvel Cinematic Universe was just money, 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 money. And everybody's kind of like, okay, what can we do?
To compete with them.
DC starts doing their thing. They're like, well, okay, maybe we can do this too. And then Universal Studios kind of wanted, okay, well, we have all these characters, the Invisible Man, we've got, the Mummy, the Dracula, all these characters. What if we did a dark universe for that? And I think first thing they did wrong is they set it in modern day. I think if they were going to do that, they should have set it in like the 1930s.
Well, that had been done with Brandon Fraser, right?
It was sure. Okay. But that was one of the things that was with the Brandon Fraser one was so good, is just like, it was this interesting time. I mean, that's a mummy movie with cell phones. Sorry. Like, just it. I didn't see it.
It was a huge flop. I mean, it was so bad that it actually stopped them from making any of the furthering of those.
Yeah.
Like
they nail in the coffin.
Yeah, for all the other announced. I think they'd even announced them doing it. Like it was supposed to be the Universal Monsters is what it was. So the Universal was known in the 1930s, pretty much from the 1930s all the way through to the 50s, for their monster movies, which was like Frankenstein, Dracula, the
werewolf, Invisible
movie.
Man. Yep.
Yeah. And they were gonna try to kind of bring them all together and have their own universe. Like you said, the Marvel, the Marvel thing that they would, which is a great idea. But you're right, that kind of the idea. It's the idea that was good, and then the execution was bad.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
That's
anyway,
a good one.
We could fix it in another discussion, but I still think they could have something there. Wait till the MCU just kind of fiddles out, and then
I think that they've done it with the Blumhouse movies. So you know about Blumhouse, right? They're a horror genre, or horror. They make horror movies. It's a production studio, and they just did Megan. They did I think they had sold the rights, like Universal's letting them take the rights on for the monsters. They just recently did 2020 The Invisible Man. Did you ever see that?
No.
So that's the Blumhouse production that I was trying to tell you. So they're a small studio that makes really low budget horror movies. But they're always pretty good. Did you see Megan? Okay.
I don't think so.
I'm trying to think of another one that you might have seen, but anyway, the idea is that they keep their costs low and they make these high quality horror movies, and The Invisible Man was one of them. And since that was such a big success, which it came out during COVID, and it still was a success, or right before COVID maybe. And so I think they're going to be making more of they're going to maybe try to do modern twists on these. So it worked in The Invisible Man. So I don't know how they're going to make that twist with the Mummy,
Yeah.
Like you said, it's probably better doing it as an event, like as the, Indiana Jones adventure movie. Who knows?
I feel like they were going to try to compete with the Marvel Studios. And I'm like, no, separate yourself from them, like do your own thing. And I think period pieces would be definitely separating yourself and giving people something a little bit different giving him something
that they've seen before, but maybe haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what they wanted to do when they brought out The Mummy with Brandon Fraser, because that was such a huge success that I think they wanted to do more of those monster, like remake of monster movies.
Uh-huh.
And I think like Van Helsing was a kind of an attempt for that with Hugh
Oh,
Jackman. Do you remember that? It was
yeah.
it was really dumb.
Yeah, there's another one.
Yeah.
Really great premise.
Really great premise, but really dumb
Horrible on the execution. Just didn't work out very good.
No, it didn't. Not
so
do you remember that? I think Kate
Yeah.
Beckinsale was in that one.
Yeah. So, and they had the Frankenstein was in it too.
Yeah, Frankenstein was in it. Dracula was
in
it.
Yeah.
So that was they've tried this before, but it just didn't. It's just a hard,
Yeah, if they could kind of take what the Mummy did, the Brandon Fraser Mummy,
the Brandon Fraser Mummy,
that kind of adventure feel.
But it had,
it had some fun. It had some plucky humor to it. It was funny.
Yeah, it had the right kind of humor to it.
It had such
a fun movie.
It was kind of all in there. It had some really great action too and stuff. So I think they could do it, and I'd be for it. I'd be there for it. But
it's just a, like, I don't know, again, like the execution is so poorly done. It's like hard to think that, that they can bring that kind of success to it.
Yeah.
I mean, The Happening is another one. The Happening there was a M. Night Shyamalan movie with Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg feels like in that movie, like he is like sleepwalking through that movie.
Yeah.
So the premise of that movie is really interesting because it's essentially everybody in the world starts, or certain people in the world start to exhibit signs of suicidal attempts, and there's no stopping them. There's like zombified suicidal attempts.
Yeah.
And then they got to basically get to a family has to get to a small town or something like that. And it's an awesome premise, but it's just so poorly executed. And then the twist at the end is so dumb that you're going, really? This is it? Like it's pretty bad. Like that one's a rough one. And for the most part, I really like M. Night Shyamalan. He just hasn't done very well lately. I'd say after The Village, he didn't really get anything good after The Village.
It just becomes it's like really hit and miss for him. Like, he does. So
The Sixth Sense is good.
I think we've talked about this.
Pretty good. He has a string of pretty good movies for like four or five of his first movies, and then he just kind of.
Then he had like Lady in the Water.
And then
he had like
and the Last Airbender. The Last Airbender was shit, man. It was absolute shit. So I don't think he might be a one-trick pony.
One of the things I've just thinking through a bunch of them. A lot of good premises are video game adaptations, and we've had a really, really long history of really horrible video game adaptations,
like the Hitman.
You got Assassin's Creed.
They're all really,
which the fans were just super excited for.
Yeah, all of it,
and it just ended up being,
but they just end up being really crap. It might be that, and it's been like a curse for a while, other than maybe like just recently with Super Mario Brothers.
So
but even Super Mario Brothers even had a shitty beginning start, like their first
back in the 80s when they made one. It was really horrible.
It was bad.
It really makes me wonder, so why did we have like all these really lackluster, really horrible video game adaptations, we might start seeing the era of the video game adaptation. A lot of people are theorizing that we're going to move from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, comic book adaptation era, and we're going to start moving into the video game adaptation era.
Yeah.
Right. And if we do and they're good, I'm for it. Right. But it makes you wonder, why in the world did we have like this long history of video game adaptations that just have been garbage?
Yeah. And that's a tough one, because we've had pretty good. So we have 2 Sonic movies that have been really good. I mean, they're more comical. They're obviously more comical. They're not meant to be dramatic. I've heard good things about The Last of Us, which is on HBO. Mm-hmm. I've never seen it, so I don't know. And then there's Super Mario Brothers. So we've had, in the last 3 or 5 years, give or take, we've had some really good successes. But that's we're coming off of like a huge string of just terrible movie after terrible movie. Like you said, Assassin's Creed and what's the one? There's a
Mortal Kombat. I mean, we had Mortal Kombat, and Street Fighter. Actually, the newest Mortal Kombat
wasn't terrible.
I wasn't expecting much, but I thought it was better than the one in the 90s.
Yeah, the 90s. 90s were a rough decade for video game adaptations, and I should say the early 2000s probably.
Yeah, probably as well.
But I got one. So Lucy, do you remember that with Scarlett Johansson?
I never saw it.
Okay, well, so the premise is that this woman gets like superhuman powers from a drug. She's like blackmailed into becoming a drug mule or something like that. She gets all these new drugs in her system that kind of make her like telekinetic. I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But it got to the end. As it got to the end, she became omnipotent. So she became like the unstoppable. And it was like, it started out as like an action movie, but it just went.
Yeah.
And they claim that human beings only use 10% of their brain, which I think is a fake. That's not real. I've heard that's
right.
not accurate.
That's not accurate. Yeah.
And according to this premise, like the drugs that she ended up taking made her whole brain work, and stuff like that. It started out okay. It just got really hokey, like midway through. It was just like, what is going on? She can't be stopped. Like, she's like bursting people with her hands and throwing them around with her, with her telekinesis. It was like, what? So that's a Superman problem, right? The biggest problem with Superman is that he can't be destroyed, and he's got one weakness, and you got to find that weakness, and you got to make it interesting. And that's why, for the most part, the Superman movies really don't have, like, you've got maybe 2 good Superman movies out of what?
I thought Man of Steel was okay.
Is okay. It's another one that I would say probably has a problem with execution. Have you seen Freaks? Have you seen Freaks yet?
No. What's that?
Oh man, it was really good. You should go into it blind, not knowing anything about it. But if you can find it, it was like a 2000. I want to say it was like a 2019, 2018 film, and it's really good. Like, it surprised me. It was on Netflix. It became like number 1 on Netflix for a while, but it was made a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
But I can't remember.
Freaks.
Yeah, it had Emil Hirsch in it. Do you know who that is?
Mm-mm.
You'd recognize him if you saw him. It was a 2018 film. Yeah. So if you can find that, I would. It might still be on Netflix. I doubt it, though. I think it was on Netflix for a short time and then went. But it's a really low budget. It had Bruce Dern, who played the bad guy in the Cowboys. He's an old man now, but he's in
Yeah.
it, and it was surprising. That was a surprise. That was one of those gems that you find that you don't really like. You're like, huh, never heard of this movie, but it was really good. But that was a little off topic, I guess.
Yeah.
We should get back to what the terrible movies are.
Anyway, those were the ones I had that I had just thought of. There's a lot more we could talk about, like sequels. Independence Day. I never saw it, but
the second
I heard that
Independence Day was
the second Independence Day.
It was so bad. It was so bad. It's like,
yeah. And then you had Matrix, the newest Matrix.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these I'm not even seeing because I just I guess there's people's opinions that I trust, and I don't want to waste my time enough that if I hear that it's garbage, I'll just.
Yeah, I used to go to every movie that came out in the movie theater. There was about a 5-year period where I went to every single movie that interests me, I guess I should say. But now, now it's like very picky. I'm very picky about what I go to now. So, another one is Chappie. Have you ever heard about this movie?
Yeah, I think, isn't that the one with the robot?
Yeah, Hugh Jackman was in it. And it was a good premise that just shit the bed. It was really, really terrible movie. Like, and it's about a robot that starts to get sentient, but as an action movie. Kind of like do you remember Short Circuit?
You know what? I think I've seen it. Yeah, and then doesn't Hugh Jackman, he like wants to bring out military robots or something?
Yeah. Well, the Chappie, the robot, actually joins a street gang, and he starts acting like a rap artist and stuff. It just got weird and bizarre and stupid, and it had a good premise, and they just kind of crapped the bed with it.
It was kind of a Short Circuit. Well,
yeah, like I was saying, Short Circuit, but Short Circuit was a comedy. Like it had action to it, but it was just a comedy. But Short Circuit that was actually a fun movie, but
Chappie, I grew up watching that show.
Yeah.
Short Circuit.
But Chappie wasn't very good. So I don't know. I guess we can bring this one home. It'll be a short one. So let us know, audience, if there's any that you can think of, and put them in the comments. I mean, there's tons of movies out there. There's no way we got to every movie that where the premise
had a great premise that ended up
not being good. I mean, there's Alien sequels, and there's Predator sequels that didn't do too well, and just all sorts of crap. So
it sounds like they can't get a Halo movie or series to work.
Yeah, the series was bad. I didn't like the series. Like, I probably dedicated about 4 hours to that.
My buddy was telling me that the chief
Master Chief
pulls his helmet off
all the time,
within the first,
like, he barely wears
10 minutes.
It's like,
and you're just like, we've never seen his face.
So why?
we've been playing the game for 20 years, and we've never seen his face, and now they just unceremoniously, like, he just takes his helmet off. What?
Did you see Dread?
Yeah.
With Carl Urban.
Mm-hmm.
The newer version. He doesn't take his helmet off in the whole movie. Yep. And I mean, that's kind of what you're supposed to do. So it says a lot about the actor when the actor's like, yeah, I'm fine with that. The actors that aren't fine with it are like so whoever played,
you don't want to see my face?
That's how I act. Anyway, okay. What's our socials, brother?
Yeah, follow us on Twitter, Brothers V Random. We're on Rumble, just at the Brothers Random, and Instagram at the Brothers Random. And you can email us at the Brothers Random V at Gmail.
Yeah, and we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Keep reading, keep listening, keep watching, and learn more. We'll see you, brother.
See ya.